Parents of Reddit, what was your worst parenting mistake? I was far too fearful and now they are fearful. 3-year-old woke up in the middle of the night and came to tell me she had a bad dream. I walked her back to the room and talked to her about her dream. She said she was dreaming there were bugs crawling on the walls and in her bed. I told her that it was just a dream and the bugs only existed in her head. She didn't get back to sleep for a long time after being told she had bugs in her head. 5 months old. He'll be fine. He can't roll over yet. Places baby in middle of king-sized bed and proceeds to finish getting ready for work. He could in fact roll over. The other day, some lady cut me off and then stopped in the middle of the lane to turn left despite there being a turn lane. I yelled, "You fucking asshole." Then I hear this tiny voice come from the back of my car. "What's a fucking asshole?" And that was the day I taught my 2.5 years old the word fucking and the word asshole. Congrats! Now he can be a YouTuber, you know? My worst parenting mistake involved a trip to the ER. It was about 8 years ago in December. It was my wife's birthday, but we weren't going anywhere because a huge snowstorm had hit our area. No problem though. I would do all the shoveling. Can't have her shoveling on her birthday. My son, then about 7 or 8, came out with me to help shovel. We were doing a good job and clearing off the snow when it happened. As I was bringing my shovel up, my son bent down to pick up more snow. I hit his head with the corner of my shovel, the very sharp corner. He shrieked and held his eye. I suddenly worried that I pulled my son's eye out. Well, I didn't. But I did get him right above his eyebrow and he was bleeding a lot. His coat was getting covered in blood. We went in and couldn't stop the bleeding well, so I put my son in the car, stopped by my in-law's house, less than a mile away, to pick up my mother-in-law. My wife stayed home with our younger son, who was a toddler then, and dropped to the ER in the blizzard. They were great and glued. My son's one shot. I special glue that they can use instead of stitches. He was fine, but I felt like the worst dad in the world. His coat was a loss and I ruined my wife's birthday. Plus, to this day, you can see an indentation where I hit my son in the head with a shovel. Well, we're only at age 1.5, so we haven't had any major ones yet. But teaching my toddler how to throw out her own trash has proven disastrous for the things in our house that aren't garbage, but make their way into the trash anyway. This is a good one. Most recently, her favorite stuffed puppy, who was missing for a good chunk of time. Oh man, one time my wife and I took our son on a trip to the harbor since he was now old enough to go with us on these trips. After a fun-filled day, we were driving back home and my wife glanced in the back seat and goes, "Where's our son?" I guess we were not used to having a third person with us when we went out, so that's the story of how we almost forgot our child. Neither of my parents have read it, but they have told me this has been their biggest mistake with me of all time. I was a kid about 14 and I was riding my bike in front of it. Anyway, I end up falling over onto the ground on my bike while standing up and not moving. Long story short, it feels like I have just been drop kicked in my balls. So I head inside and lay on the couch in pain for a while. Asked my parents to take me to the hospital and they refused. Told me I was just being a baby and that the pain would go away. About an hour and a half later, and many tears, finally agreed to make me in. Turns out I had given myself a testicular torsion and the lack of blood to that area of my body meant I was going into emergency surgery. I lost a testicle the same day, less than 10 minutes later. Never forgave them for it. I may or may not have forgotten my son in the car when he was 4. It was winter, so it's not like he was boiling alive, but I still have nightmares. He could have frozen.